And on this video, we're going to go over the state of the San Francisco Giants. Let's get into it. What's going on, baseball fans? Jeremy Laracuente here for the Baseball Banter Broadcast on the Laracuente Legend Network. And as I said in the open, today we will be discussing the state of the 2021 San Francisco Giants. But before we get into it, make sure if you haven't already done so, make sure you smash that subscribe button down below, as it does a huge service for us here at the Laracuente Legend Network. Now, let's get into it. So as we begin looking at the offseason moves that the San Francisco Giants would make, we begin with the two biggest signings in terms of relievers. The Giants would bring in Jake McGee and Jose Alvarez. Both left-handers are going to be very important to what the Giants are looking to do. They're going to be in a difficult division, as the Dodgers and Padres are likely still going to be ahead of them, even after all the moves they made this offseason. But when you look at what these two relievers can provide, they provide depth for a Giants bullpen that we'll get into more in a moment. Now, the Giants would also bring in three quality type starters in Alex Wood, Anthony DeSclafani, and Aaron Sanchez. When you look at what these starters provide, they provide versatility for the San Francisco Giants, as all three can be either starters and or relievers throughout the course of the 2021 campaign. Having this level of versatility for the San Francisco Giants is going to be key, because as I said, they're going to be in a tough, difficult division. So when you look at what this means for the Giants, they have guys who are capable of coming out of the bullpen when needed, but also starting. This also makes them very valuable assets at the trading deadline. So all of these players that the Giants have signed this offseason could easily be parlayed into newer assets, prospects, if the Giants fall out of contention by the trading deadline. We would also see the Giants pick up Tommy Listella. Now, Listella is going to be a guy who's going to float around the infield to start the season as Evan Longoria returns from his injury. He's likely going to start the season at third base, but then position and pivot over to second base and allow Donovan Solano to go back to more of a utility role. This will help lengthen the versatility lineup of the San Francisco Giants. And having Gabe Kapler at the helm, you know that they're going to be mixing and matching and playing a lot of the preferred split numbers in terms of their position battles as well as their lineup. And while not a big offensive threat, Tommy Listella is definitely a very good complementary piece. And much like the pitchers that the Giants have already picked up that we've just discussed, Tommy Listella also becomes a very viable trade candidate at the deadline. So let's jump into the state of the San Francisco Giant rotation. When you look at what this rotation is going to feature, it's going to be headlined by Kevin Gausman and Johnny Cueto. You're also going to see a mixture of the three starters that we already mentioned: Aaron Sanchez, Anthony DeSclafani, and Alex Wood. Wood is the most likely candidate to follow up Cueto and Gausman in that rotation, but there are going to be potentials for some of the younger starters coming out of the Giants organization as well. How the battle shakes out, we'll have to wait and see how spring training shakes out for the San Francisco Giants. But when you look at what this team means, this starting rotation is likely going to be their best assets in 2021. And if all goes well, they likely will have a underratedly good starting staff out in San Francisco. Now, as we jump into the state of the bullpen here for the San Francisco Giants, the aforementioned McGee and Alvarez are going to be the biggest and best pieces of that bullpen. Now, San Francisco will be capable of holding leads for the most part with their current bullpen as it stands. Now, when you look at what this team can be, they're going to have to rely on that bullpen to lock down games that they get the advantage in, because, again, this is going to be a very tough division. When you look at what this bullpen could be, there are pieces that could potentially be trade assets if the Giants fall out of contention. If the Giants can get some stellar career performances out of that bullpen, it can save a lot of wear and tear that's on the starters' arms going into the 2021 campaign. And if we can see career years out of the starting rotation and the bullpen, the San Francisco Giants may be able to make another run at postseason contention. As we get into the state of the offense for the San Francisco Giants, it's going to be led by a pair of star named catchers in Buster Posey and Joey Bart. Bart is going to be the heir apparent to Buster Posey once his time as the backstop of the Giants is over. Now, when you look at what the rest of this team is featuring, you have a stalwart name like Brandon Belt, who had a career renaissance year in 2020. You also had a career out of Donovan Solano. And you're also going to feature names of guys that may be a little bit more underrated outside of San Francisco, like Mike Yastrzemski and Alex Dickerson. However, outside of those few players, there's going to be a lot more questions about the offense of this team. How will Evan Longoria be able to stack up throughout the rest of the year? Tommy Listella is a good complementary piece, but can he really carry the position of second base now that the Giants are going to need more help offensively? There's very little doubt that if the San Francisco Giants get career years out of several of their players on offense, as well as this pitching staff, they have a potential shot to win a second wildcard spot. Now, as we jump into the state of the franchise, let's be very clear. I definitely don't believe that the San Francisco Giants are going to be able to hang tough with the rest of the division. The Dodgers and Padres are far and away the best teams in the division, and it's not even close. For the San Francisco Giants, much like for the Arizona Diamondbacks, who we covered here on the State of series, I will leave links to that video down in the show notes below, as well as up in the YouTube card. But when it comes to both of these teams, they will have to have career years from multiple players across the pitching staff as well as the offense in order to survive and sustain themselves as a postseason contender. More than likely, both the Arizona Diamondbacks and these San Francisco Giants are likely going to try to pivot their assets at the trading deadline and move them for newer, younger pieces and prospects. And while it's not a complete and utter long shot, the San Francisco Giants are likely not going to be winning that second wildcard spot. The National League East is a very, very tough division, and the National League Central will have several teams that will be fighting and trying to get that second wildcard spot. So when you look at what this league is as a whole, the National League is going to be very, very competitive. And I just don't know that the San Francisco Giants have enough firepower to be able to sustain that hunt. But I want to hear from you guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below, and we will discuss it further. Let me know your feelings about the Giants and where they fall. Where do they stand in terms of the battle in the National League West, as well as the National League as a whole? So let me know that, and we'll discuss it up further. As always, if you haven't already done so, make sure you hit that like, subscribe, and bell to stay notified of each and every time we drop new content here at the Laracuente Legend Network. Your assistance in doing so allows us to continue pushing up the YouTube algorithm, and it allows us to bring more content each and every single week. Likewise, if you join us over on patreon.com and searching for the Laracuente Legend Network and joining us there, it continues to help us push forward and allows us to bring you even more content across multiple platforms each and every single week. There's already a ton of exclusive content over on our Patreon account, so make sure you head over there and join us as well if you're loving what you're getting here from the Laracuente Legend Network. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in, and this has been our coverage of the state of the San Francisco Giants, and I will catch you guys when the latest news, notes, or my personal thoughts, theories, and opinions have to be dropped about the game of Major League Baseball. Peace.